John Sharify, a guy who lives and breathes storytelling and every inch of passion that goes into every story he does. I can't imagine that you've now been doing this for 37 years. What were you, 5 when you started? Jeez. John believes his passion to express himself in words is in his DNA. And in fact, it is, probably. His late father was a well-known poet in Iran. And John, who had doubts about his own abilities as a storyteller early in the career, says he always remembers that moment when his dad declared, "Son, that story you did didn't have one extra word. It was poetry." John began his career in journalism at WPIX-TV in New York City in 1981. In '89, he too saw the light and came to Como in Seattle. Right now, he is the general manager of Seattle College's cable television and still, currently, a special projects reporter for King TV. His passion has taken him around the world, presenting workshops in newsrooms and at journalism conferences on writing and visual storytelling. John has mentored hundreds of journalists around this country, and he takes pride in their growth, as we all do, as storytellers. He reminds them, not one extra word. John, congratulations.
Up here for a second. No, I just have to say, I just found out a couple days ago that Bob was going to be emceeing and he was going to be introducing all of us and me, and I was absolutely thrilled because there is no one that I've learned more from about storytelling and journalism than this man. So I just want to thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also want to thank Tom Butterworth, my colleague at Seattle College's. Where's Tom? There you are. The heart and soul of SEC TV, who nominated me for this. We go way back to 1989 when I landed at Como. I mean, 1989. I work with some people who were 3 in 1989. Where's Joseph Huerta? There. Yeah, he's my creative collaborator now, and he reminds me continuously when I, say, oh yeah, I did that story in the 92, I was 5. I did that story in 85, I wasn't born yet. So, yeah, I also want to thank, of course, Maria for putting another great event together and for all the work that you do for Natus year after year after year. And Diane Bevins, I mean, is synonymous. Where's Diane? Is synonymous. There you are. God, you know that we love you, right? Oh, man. I know. And I went through withdrawals, after, the day after I turned over the presidency of this organization. But we chatted almost every day back in the day. And as I look around, and I see the faces of those who have been subjects of my stories over the years. Thank you so much for honoring me. Melissa Batson, thank you for coming. Mary Larson, where are you? Is Mary there? Mary Larson, thank you so much. Scott Soul, thank you. And Mike Johnson, well, Scott and I tried to climb all the way up to Mount Rainier. We didn't quite make it, but Mike Johnson did. Kenny Salvini and Claire, we just did a Valentine's Day story. Thank you for being here. Love is the answer, right? Anyone else? Did I forget anyone else? I've always maintained that of all the questions we ask as journalists, the who, what, where, when, why questions, it's that last question that's most interesting and most important, the why. I've always maintained that if you can get to the why, then you can get to the heart of the story. Why am I a journalist? The short answer is I have to do this. I can't not do this. I mean, we enter as journalists people's lives at the worst times of their lives or the best times of their lives. And anyone who's worked with me knows that I'd much prefer that scenario of the best times of their lives any day. But the reality is we're there on those bad news days, right? That's what we do in local news. A mother is in grief, or her son has been murdered. Well, we're asked to go cover it, and we do the best that we can. We're on the front lines of grief. I'm sorry for your loss, we say. How many times have I actually spoken those words? And I can bet you that those were the first words that came out of my mouth when I met the mother of Chris Keim, Kim, who is here. And now I mention you. Kim and Kirsten. Kirsten is Chris's sister. And I bet you when you started talking about Chris, Kim, I'm sure I thought about my own kids, Jade and Perry, when you talked about them. I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget that story that we did that day, and then 1 year later on the anniversary, and then we did one a couple years later, and then on the 10-year anniversary, and then on the 16th anniversary, Joseph and I went, just this past year to do that story. And what was that story? It was the story about Chris's gifts of life and love, and the fact that there were people walking around on this earth with Chris's organs. Larry Levinson, who had his heart, the heart of a hero. And they were alive because of Chris. They were alive because of a conversation that Chris had with his mom. He said, "Mom, if anything ever happens to me, right, I want my organs donated." And he showed you the heart. Yeah. And I bet you that conversation after we aired that story on that 1 year anniversary was repeated hundreds of times. I remember Life Center Northwest was flooded with calls, an organization that takes pride in helping families find meaning in their time of loss. In fact, that's why I do this, to help viewers find meaning in the stories I report. And in my attempt to do so, I think I found meaning in my work and in my life. So that's the why. Now the who part of the talk. The who are my colleagues and friends and family who've lifted me up, who've challenged me, who've made me better, who've taught me the craft of storytelling. Again, I point to Bob and John Larson, who was in that video, and who've taught me about life. And at the top of the list is my family, Denise and Jade and Perry, who will be attending and celebrating with me tomorrow, my dad and mom and my sister Sherry and brother-in-law Rick, who reminded me always what was and is most important of all in life, family. And then my colleagues and former colleagues at King, thank you. I will forever be indebted to news director Mark Ginther, who made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He said, "Why don't you come on board, do a few stories, I'll connect you, and you can collaborate with the extraordinary Doug Burgess." I don't know if Doug made it here yet. Is Doug here? Maybe not. But what a dream to collaborate with Doug, and then to collaborate with Scott Jensen and Jeff Christian and Matt Mrzinski, who is here, Kevin Sullivan and Eric Sander. And when Mark left, Cheryl Carson and Russ Walker, they said, keep going with these stories. Make them shorter if you can. but keep doing those stories, life-affirming stories about our community. And they teamed me up with Andy Wallace and Ty Nguyen and my man Joseph Huerta, who elevates my work every time we work together. And my colleagues at Seattle colleges, Chancellor Sean Penn, thank you so much for being here tonight, first of all, and for your leadership. And my colleagues at SEC TV, Dean, who's actually taking a video of this right now, thank you. And Tom Butterworth and Rich McAdams. And former Chancellor Jill Wakefield, thank you so much for honoring me with your presence. And so much gratitude to my former Como colleagues, which include Bob Thronson and John Larson, my mentors. To Jim Boyer, who was the news director at the time, I was working in New York City. It was 1989. He said, "Look, come out here to Seattle and you can buy a house for $100,000. Yes, that's how old I am. My creative collaborators at Como, thank you, Bill Strothman, Doug Pigsley, Brad Baker, Neil Aketa. Kiyomi Taguchi is here. Thank you, Kiyomi. Elisa Prinos, Bonnie Ernst, Scott Hobson, John Noor, Darren Tegman, Trino, and Tim Griffiths. Tim, where are you? There you are. Tim, I credit for taking me to the next level of storytelling. It was like the light bulb went off when I started working with Tim. And it all started in New York City for me when Kathy Shepard, the late Kathy Shepard, hired me right out of grad school and took a chance, put me on the air on a show called Best Talk in Town, and I was so bad. I was, no, really, I was, you want to see tape? I was really bad. But I was hungry to get better. So that's the who part of my talk. But there is one other person that I have to mention, and she's taking a video of me now, so I'll look over there right at you and say to Annie Center, who's enriched my life, who's the love of my life, thank you. I'm thrilled that you can be here to be a part of this. I'll leave you with this. So my last story for King 5 aired 2 weeks ago, and my opening lines were, Joseph, you know them? No, of course you don't. You don't even pay attention to the words I write. The things we do, the things we wish we could, the things we wish we hadn't, is how I started that piece about second chances. And I was talking about the regrets that we have in our lives. And here's the thing. There is nothing I would change about my career. I have no regrets and so much gratitude for all of it. And then this happens. I get to be inducted into the Silver Circle, and that's just icing on the cake. Thank you.